start our recording just so that everyone knows the recording has begun. And all right, we're going to start letting people in, okay? All right. Welcome, 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 everybody. Thank you so much for joining us today. Hey, Bethany girl, you having a good hair day, sis. I like it. Yes, you better whip your hair back and forth, girl. I enjoys. I enjoys. We want to thank everybody for joining us today. Y'all, you know, they say the early bird gets the worm. So y'all up in here, y'all not playing. We're going to give everybody a few more minutes to come on in the meantime, we would love it if you all would just start getting up in that chat box, type your name, the name of your podcast or your future podcast, because we're going to claim that. Hallelujah. Yes, in the name of Jesus. Yes. And let us know where you're from so everybody can start getting comfortable with each other, getting familiar with each other, and everything like that. We're going to be really using this chat feature tonight. Zoom done made some upgrades for us, y'all. Hallelujah. And they making it a much more pleasant experience for our brothers and sisters who are hearing impaired. So we can definitely feel safe to use that chat tonight because it should be a better experience for anyone who might be relying on the audio feature. So come on in, jump on into those chat box. Let us know who you are, the name of your podcast. We welcome you all to turn your cameras on so that we can see your beautiful, beautiful faces. And we remind you that this event is being recorded. All right. And so, you know, get the crust out your eyes. Hallelujah. Get the crust out your eyes. We always take a group ussy at the end of every event that we do. So if you got the crust in your eyes and you ain't ready to take it out just yet, feel free to take it out before we get to the end of this here thing because we want everybody to show up and be a part of our group ussy. So welcome, welcome. Hi, Martine. Thank you so much for joining us. Hi, Karim, Jade. Nice to see you all up in the building. Stephanie, hello, hello. We want you all to go ahead. I feel like I'm going to say your name wrong, but I'm going to try anyway. Lepodion.
Uh,
Lepodion.
that's close enough.
That I think I did all right. I think that wasn't as bad as I thought I was gonna do. Welcome, welcome, welcome. If you need the closed captioning, please click the CC button down at the bottom of your screen, and you'll be able to turn that closed captioning on for yourself. So we just want to welcome you all again. We're gonna give everybody maybe 1 or 2 more minutes to come on in here. Not too much longer. We like to give everybody a fair shake, but we also want to respect your time. And for those of us who got here on time, we want to make sure that we give you your whole full money's worth, right? So we're gonna do that. Um, all right, occasional director of one shot audio dramas. Okay, Karim. Karim said every now and then I dabble. I Excuse me, I dabble a little bit here and there. Well, welcome, welcome, welcome. Come on in. If you know someone that signed up to attend tonight and you don't see them in the participants list, go ahead and hit them up, send them a DM, send them a text message or something and say, don't forget now, bring your cell phone into place and make sure you got what you need to get or get what you need to get because we are talking about audio dramas tonight. And I don't know about y'all, but I am extremely excited about this conversation tonight. As you all can see, we have four beautiful, beautiful ladies, black ladies. Y'all watch Black Lady Sketch Show on HBO? Yeah, y'all know when they like, oh, we got a black lady jewelry, we got a black lady courtroom. Black lady courtroom. Well, that's how I'm feeling tonight. Okay. We got a black lady audio drama panel discussion going on tonight, and it is going to be fucking amazing. So make sure that anybody who's supposed to be here is here and that they are ready to get this knowledge. If you have not already, make sure that you get your pen and paper so you could take some notes, because I guarantee you there's going to be something that you want to write down tonight. And we want to make sure that you get all the little nuggets. All right. Before we get started, I just want to go over some housekeeping rules real quickly. So when you all come in, you'll notice that you're automatically muted. And that's just to make sure that we get a really good, clean audio. But we will have an opportunity toward the end to take some verbal questions. But feel free to write your questions in the chat box as well. You don't have to wait to get to wait until we open up the audio to be able to ask your question aloud. You can also type that in the chat box and I'll be monitoring that, keeping track of that as well. We encourage you all to interact with each other, engage with each other, engage with us. You know, we on this screen and everything. Everybody has had a lot of Zoom experience up until this or so far as a result of the quarantine. So y'all know it can be a little dry sometime up in them little Zoom rooms and things like that. The way that we prevent that from happening is through the chat box. So we want y'all to be sending us all of that positive energy. If you hear something that connects with you, it is absolutely acceptable to type hallelujah in the chat box. All right. We love emojis. We have, if you look down at the bottom of your screen, there's a reactions tab, and there are a ridiculous amount of reactions that you can utilize to let the audience and the panelists know that you are engaged with them, that you're hearing them. You could clap your hands, you could give them a thumbs up, you could roll on the floor laughing if that's what you want to do, and you can celebrate and show some love as well if that's what you want to do. So we want you to be using those reactions so that we can be engaged, and also jump up in that chat box and let us know that you're here. All right, let's see. We got, excuse me, Jade. Jade Scott is the founder of WCG Productions. Hey, Jade. Oh, they're doing their first audio drama in July. They're putting it out in July. And so they're currently in pre-production for their next one. Congratulations, Jade. That's what's up. Yes. Stephanie is here based in the Los Angeles area. Oh, Stephanie, it's early for you. What time? It's like 4 o'clock for Stephanie right now. I ain't mad, girl. I'm a little mad, but I ain't all the way mad. Because y'all, I feel like y'all get extra hours for some reason, even though I know that that's not logical.
Nope. No
It just
extra
it just
hours.
feels that way. Yeah, yeah, it just feels that way. So, Stephanie is a screenwriter that's transitioning into audio drama. Awesome. Hoping to produce her first few episodes this year. We also have Bethany. Bethany is actually a friend to Afros and Audio. Yes, we did creative conversations over on IG Live was it a few weeks ago, about a month or so ago. And Bethany is the CEO and owner of Crackers and Soup. Awesome. Yeah, and Bethany's partner is here, her business partner, or yeah, I call her your business partner. Sherilyn is here as well. Sherilyn, I think is how you pronounce her name. All right. So, of course, to all of our newbies who just joined in, this is a free space. We definitely encourage you to jump on in that chat box and engage with us. My name is Latrice Sampson Richards. I am the host of Unicorns Talk podcast, and I'm also the lead virtual consultant for Afros and Audio. And I got a lot of titles these days, but I'm very proud of these titles these days, right? For those of you who don't know, Afros and Audio has launched our creative wing of the house, which is the Vanguard Podcast Network. And I am a podcast producer over at Vanguard. So I'm super excited about that role and everything that comes with it. And, we are excited to have this talk because Talib is all about audio dramas, everything is about audio dramas. And so to be able to have this conversation where we can really kind of lay the foundation for everyone or for anyone who's interested in creating an audio drama or wants to enhance the audio drama that they've already started working on. we're excited for this talk. So this is a panel discussion today, you all. We're going to be having a really laid back conversation, but it's also going to be extremely informative. Our goal is to make sure that by the end of this conversation, you have the foundation understanding that you need to get your audio drama off the ground. And so if there's something that you would like for us to cover that we have not covered, go on and drop it in the chat. Y'all already know the drill. Drop it in the chat and we will make sure that we get to it. All right. So we're going to go ahead and get started. I'll let each of these ladies introduce themselves, starting with Xperience and then Monice, Faith, and Melly. And then we'll get into the conversation. Xperience?
Good evening. I am Xperience Jay. I'm a multi-hyphenate creator from Alexandria, Virginia. I'm the co-founder of Black Audio Dramas Exist, where I promote creatively provocative audio dramas written, produced, starring Black creatives. I just have an overall love for the arts and an innate desire to amplify Black voices through media. So this is my way of doing that. I also have written and produced and starred in past due audio series and Kiss the audio series. And they can all be found on major streaming platforms. I also recently established Just Listen Media, where I produce innovative audio experiences and things like that. I'm sorry, I'm very tongue-tied today. So I'm going to be messing up all the words today. Let me just say that. But yeah, that's me.
Okay, Xperience, I thought you did great. I'm hailing from LA. So for my LA people out there, in the middle of the day doing this, kudos. My name is Monice Mitchell Simms, and I'm an award-winning screenwriter, director, producer. I'm also a former journalist and a novelist. My book, Address House of Corrections, is what I adapted into the audio drama, which is basically a reimagining of the traditional audio book. It's kind of like a movie for your ears. And that's actually now on Apple Podcasts, Stitcher, everywhere. It's everywhere. And I am a storyteller, so I don't really define myself by the genre. If a story comes to me as a children's book, which I've also write, poetry, I do that as well. So I just want to get my story written in the format that it wants to be in. So I'm pretty much obedient to that. And I also have a movie streaming right now on BET Plus called Redeemed.
Girl, I'm gonna have to get your autograph, girl. Listen, go ahead. All right, Faith.
Hi, I'm Faith McQuinn, and I'm totally just gonna mess up today too. It's been a long day, but anyway, I founded my production company, Observer Pictures, in 2015, and we make short films and now audio dramas. I've got 3 of those: Boom, a serial drama, Margaritas and Donuts, and now Apollyon, which the pilot episode is out now, so you should go listen to it. All 3 of those are wherever you listen to podcasts, but I started in film 20 some odd, more than 20 years ago, and was really into film and realized that, filmmaking is expensive. And telling stories through audio drama is kind of my obsession right now. So I still consider myself a filmmaker, but I definitely think I am slowly moving away from film and embracing the love of audio drama.
Awesome. Melly?
Hey everybody, hope you can hear me all well. I don't have my mic up, but I'm Melissa, also known as Melly. I am an actress, primarily in the musical theater space here in New York City, but I am also the host and writer, narrator of the children's podcast, Stoop Kid Stories. So I'm representing the kids and family space of podcasting. So yes, I have my podcast of Stoop Kid Stories. I'm also a board member of Kids Listen, which is a grassroots organization for all kid podcasters and children's podcast content. So yeah, I'm just here representing Black kids and kids and family podcasting.
Yes. So when I tell y'all that we put together a panel discussion, I mean, come on, right? We put together a panel discussion. And so, I told y'all ladies before, one of the reasons why I was excited about this conversation and specifically moderating this conversation is because, audio drama is just not really an area that I was really familiar with. Before I met Talib, I didn't really think much about audio dramas, and I had tried a few, but I never could really land on one that I liked. And eventually I did get there. But I would like to kind of start off in a really general sense to talk about specifically what is an audio drama and how does an audio drama differ from, you know, any other podcast genre that might exist. So I'll have Xperience answer that first.
I'll just keep it really simple. It's a story for your ears. You know what I mean? I enjoy. I call mine. What do I call it? Again, today is just one of those days. I can't even think of the word right now, but when it comes to me, I'll come back. But I do have a special name for it. But basically, just a story for your ears where you can get lost in the story because you get to use your imagination. You can't see, you can't depend on the visual aspect of things. So you have to let your mind take over. And I've always, even when reading books as a kid, that was my favorite part about it because the characters, they're going to look however I envision them to look. And so the same aspect with audio dramas, except for now you get sound effects and things like that to tie in that help drive along the story. So,
yeah, absolutely. Monice, you talked about how, you know, you're a storyteller and you don't really like to pigeonhole yourself into one genre or another. But what made you want to move into audio drama to begin with? Like, how did you know that you wanted to create an audio drama? Because I think a lot of times storytellers, there's so many different routes that you can take.
Right.
Like you said, poetry, or you could write a book, or, you know, you could even go into television or go into the movies, or you could be like a homegrown, you know, we have a lady in New Orleans named Adela, and she's Adela the storyteller, right? And she just goes around telling stories to all of the kids. Like, there's a lot of different routes that you could take to get your story out there. What
Right.
made you want to start an audio drama?
Well, when I was in grad school at Columbia College in Chicago, I worked on this radio soap opera that was so much fun. And I really enjoyed that experience. And also when I was getting my graduate degree, I had to decide between going the writer-director route or going to sound, because I was always so excited about how you can manipulate people by the sounds you put into the movies, the music that you use. And I would get lost in the studio doing that. But I ultimately went into writing and directing, but it never left me. And so when I wrote my novel, Address House of Corrections, as an independent author, you were trying to find a way to get to everybody, any which way that you can. And I remember my experience as writing for the radio soap opera. And I was like, oh, this would be dope if I can get some of my friends to go into the studio. They can do all the characters and I can add the sound effects and the music and stuff like that. And that was a way for me to use as publicity promotion for my novel to sell books, honestly. And people started to find my book that way. And then people were getting really excited about the audio drama because, like Faith, I'm a filmmaker. So it was an ear movie when they would listen to it. And I really got excited about that because sometimes, you know, as independent creators, whether you want to do audio drama or whatever, you have to reach people where they are. Not everybody wants to read. Not everybody wants to, you know, watch the movie. Some people just want to listen to it. And so I was just trying to figure out a way to get to as many people as possible. So I would tell anybody who wants to be a creator, who has IP, and you want to figure out a different way to get it out there, audio dramas are the best way to do it because you really just need a mic and some people or just yourself, you know, to narrate the story.
Yeah, I definitely understand that. You know, I always say, like, as a creative, one of the things that for me, and I would imagine for most creatives, is most important is like getting the story out, like getting the vision out. So even if you're not doing audio drama, you're still telling a story.
Right.
But that audio drama, the ones that I have fallen in love with now, there's a few that I'm like, when is the next episode, girl? I'm like fiending, it's ridiculous. Because that it really encompasses, you know, multiple senses at one time, and you get to kind of take the story from the pages and almost kind of bring it to life, you know.
Right.
And as a creative, having the ability to really do that is so satisfying. Like it's very satisfying to the soul. And then to have that be well received by your audience, is just, it makes it just that much more. You know, Faith, a lot of times people might say, oh, I want to do this, so I want to do that, right? And we don't really think about what all goes into making that happen. And I think that's something that can very easily happen when it comes to creating an audio drama, because we say, well, all you got to do is this, all you got to do is that. One of the things when we were in pre-production, you know, talking about this, preparing for this conversation, you all really stressed and drove home to me the importance of like the script structure and like really developing the story and things like that. Can you talk a little bit about why it is so important to make sure that the script can support whatever the vision is that you're trying to bring forth, and how, what are the components of the story that really need to be more thoughtful?
Okay, especially coming from film, this was something I had to learn. And if you look at the first season of Boom versus like Margaritas and Donuts, I definitely learned how to do this better. But something I always remember from film school is the more pre-production you do, the less trouble you're going to get in. And part of that is planning the story and planning that script and really having to think, we're only working in sound. And even though sound is something that can definitely manipulate how someone feels, how you think something sounds might not translate to how this other person thinks something sounds. So somebody walking into a room, fine, we all understand they're walking into a room, but what's going on in that room? And you're like, oh, I know, it's in my head completely, but you have to figure out how to explain that to someone else without going, I'm walking into this large room right now, and I'm going to sit down on this chair. So you have to really, and because in film, it's there in front of you for your eyes to see. So you have to be very thoughtful in the dialogue, in the sound design, in how people are talking to each other, and how you transition between scenes when you're only working with audio. I mean, it's hard to explain, but you'll get it. You'll start to figure it out when you get in there. But
yeah, it's something. I mean, what you're describing is really having to think about every single component of it, right? So what does this look like in reality? You might have an idea in your mind, but what does that look like? How long is that space? What does the music feel like? What does the tone of it sound like? What is the overall vibe of this thing? Because the audio is key, right? It's an audio drama, right? And, Melly, one of the things that in the children's genre in particular, I think that's extra important. I mean, I'm a grown ass lady, and I'm pretty sure I have a touch of undiagnosed ADHD, right? So I am very easily distracted. So all of those things really matter to me. But on the children's level, it makes it even that much more important, right? Because children already have a super short attention span. And so talk to me a little bit about, someone in the comments said a good sound designer is key as well. Let's talk a little bit about that sound design piece when it comes to audio drama, and what steps are involved in making sure that the sound design really supports the story and conveys what it is that you're trying to convey to the audience.
I think clarity is the first thing. I don't know how many times we listen to podcasts and you can tell that they're, in no shade to anyone who does this from their phone, but you can tell they're not using, a good quality mic. And one thing we do, we stress in Kids Listen is that you're producing a high quality show, because especially kids are brutal. Kids are vicious. Kids are going to talk about you, So if I'm using a microphone from wherever and I just got it from the dollar store and it sounds crackly, the kids are going to let me know, And then also, I don't want that to impact the message I'm trying to get through to the story. If you can't hear it clearly, how are you going to hear what I'm saying? So I think clarity, is important. You know, like if your mic is right here, how far are you away from the mic? You know, are you here? Are you eating the mic? Are you trying to go for that nice NPR sound? You know, where if you're going, this is a whole voice acting technique, but when you're speaking far away, like what does that all look like, first of all, before you even get into any kind of sound engineering or sound effects? Also, picking sound effects that really, really enhance the story. You know, my kids are in school. So, you know, like what classroom bell sounds good? And I have a million classroom bells, but if I'm saying a story, you know, car goes to school and blah, 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 and all of a sudden you hear, I don't want that to startle the kids. Some of these kids listen to these stories at bedtime. I've had parents, you know, write me and say, hey, you know, when you get really, really excited in your story, you know, it wakes my kid up at night, even though I have to tell them like, hey, my podcast isn't a bedtime story. Like this is good for car rides and playtime, but whatever. But I have to think about that. I have to think about levels. I have to think about what sound effects I'm going to use that's not going to startle the kids. It's not going to scare them. That's not too harsh. So yeah, your position with your voice and how you use your voice, your position with your sound effects, how seamlessly does that go into your script, and also the overall product once it goes into editing and production. You know, how seamlessly does that sound? Are your levels okay? If you're using multiple actors like the other ladies are, you know, and if you're recording on Zoom, how do you get these levels so it's not like, you know, John is talking here, but then you have Casey who's talking down here, and it's like, wait, it doesn't match. So because everything is audio, all of that is super, super, super important. It's very doable. Like you don't need to go to school for it, but you know, have some care to it. You know, what we do, we have to take care of what we're doing.
Yeah, absolutely. I think, you know, you talked about the levels, and I remember I went to a podcasting conference before I was connected to Afros and Audio. I went to a podcasting conference in Atlanta, and somebody had gifted me this soundboard, and it had like a gazillion knobs on it and all of these levels and everything like that. And I'm walking around with this big ass board asking people, you know how to work this? Do you know how to, can you teach me how to do this? Can you teach me how to do that? So, you know, that like, that's thinking about what it sounds like, making sure those levels are accurate. That's one of the things that I find I really zone in on and pay attention to more than anything when I'm listening to any podcast, but specifically when I'm listening to an audio drama. Bethany posted in the comments, Bethany, you're right on time. Bethany posted in the comments, she said that one of the guests from her podcast, Chatting Over Chowder, does a true crime podcast. And they said that you need to write as if you are creating this for a person who cannot see. And she said that that was a huge aha moment for her. And so I said that that comment is right on time, because my next question was a question for everyone. I would like all of you to respond. What was your biggest aha moment? So y'all some storytellers, we're going to tell some stories. I would love to know, when it comes to your journey in audio dramas, creating audio dramas, what was that one moment that stood out to you more than anything, where you learned a lesson that was so valuable for you in your journey, in your process of creating audio dramas, that you'll never forget it and you think that it's an important lesson for other people to have? Xperience, you want to go first?
I can. There's been many. I can't really say specifically one, but in general, I'll just say that one of my biggest aha moments was just realizing that it's attainable and that I could do it. When I first heard the very first scripted podcast I had ever heard, it seemed so far away or so far-fetched for me. You know what I mean? I was just like, okay, I knew I wanted to do it. Like after listening to like my first one, I think there might have been one before Fruit, but my first notable one was Fruit, right? And so I'm listening and I'm like, oh my gosh, I have to make this type of production. I don't know how I'm going to do it, but I have to do it. And then having months later me start the process and being like, wait a minute, I'm really about to do this thing. It's not 6 degrees of separation. I'm right here. I can really do it. So that was an aha moment. Just even hearing my first episode completed. I was the star of the show. I, did a whole bunch of other things that I'll never do again. But just hearing it back and being like, yo, that sounds just as good as the things that I've been hearing. That was the best. That was an aha moment. Like, I could do this. So, yeah.
That's beautiful. I love a good story, girl. Thank you. That was beautiful. And it is important though, because we think about, Talib says this all the time, we think about for all of the podcasts that currently exist, think of how many that never even get started, that just are an idea and never actually get off the ground. And so even if it's not perfect, even if it's not exactly or, as clean or as crisp, just getting started and getting something out there, I think that's a very valuable lesson. Thank you for that. Monice?
Okay, well, I think it wasn't as much as lessons as it was a reinforcement of what I had been taught before. As a screenwriter, I was trained that, the way you expose character in a script is by what they're saying and what they're not saying. And you can depend on like the visuals, but once you take that away, all you have is their dialogue. And so that really reinforced for me that it was very important that I use dialogue in my audio drama that mattered. It not just, random stuff, but it mattered, and because that's what people are listening to. And I've always been a nerd for conversations and overhearing people talk and everything like that. And you can learn so much about someone by not just what they say, but what they don't say. And it tells you so much about the character. So for me, that was a reinforcement especially when I moved into audio drama space, because you have nowhere to hide. You can't depend on, some people heavily depend on narration. Even when I adapted my novel to the audio drama, there was so much of the narration that I just stripped away. I just took it away. Because I don't need to tell you that they walked into the room, like Faith said. I can let you hear it. And then I heard this quote once where people don't just walk into rooms. They trip into rooms, they run into rooms, they skip into rooms. So that's another way for you to express what's going on in your story. If your character always has a limp, then they hear that person coming even before they say anything. So it's that type of stuff that makes it fun for you to be able to think, how can I show character without depending on the things that I'm always used to depending on? And it may take a minute for your brain to readjust, but once you do, then it becomes fun, because now I'm like, if this character never speaks and you just hear somebody limping across a wooden floor, then the audience knows, oh my God, she did it. She killed the butler, something simple like that. So that was a reinforcement for me of how to use my skills as a screenwriter and a novelist and adapt them to this new format.
I love that. I absolutely love that. And it kind of goes back to the conversation that we were having about the sound design, right? Like really being thoughtful and intentional about that sound design and incorporating that into the script, like you said, you stripped it down, and being willing to, make those adjustments as you see fit, if it enhances the final product or the end product. I think that's a beautiful reinforcement. And I feel like that's a reminder for me, to be honest. That's a reminder for me, to just be intentional about your choices, and there's no such thing as too specific, like your goal is to communicate the story. And so whatever it takes to communicate the story, being creative about that. Thank you so much for that. Faith?
Mine is kind of after making it, like being able to get that thing made and having it out there. I was making short films for a while, and all my short films made it into festivals, but like a couple of festivals, and people don't go to festivals. Filmmakers go to festivals, not like regular people don't go to festivals. So to make this thing that regular people are listening to, I was like, oh, this is cool. People are listening to it. And probably 2 years ago when I was doing Boom, I got a private message on Instagram from this woman who said that her job was like killing her, like just getting up in the morning and working all day, and she just couldn't handle anything and she was exhausted, and she found Boom, and she wanted to thank me for basically giving her an outlet at the end of her day where she could come home. She knew she'd look forward to listening to an episode. And it was such a strange, beautiful moment for me to be like, somebody I don't know, unprompted by me, found me to tell me that I made something that made them feel good. And imposter syndrome is such a real thing, and I live in it very deeply sometimes. And if I am there, you know, you go back and you think about someone saying something like that to you, that the thing you made helped me. And I think that's something that we all need to remember. If you're in the middle of making something, or if you're thinking about making something, you're like, why should I make it? You should make it because there are other people who want to hear it, who don't have the outlet that you have, who don't have the talent that you have to make that story. So you need to go make it so somebody else can hear it.
I love that. I love everything. I love all y'all. I love y'all. Y'all is just amazing. You know what I'm saying? But I love that. You know, the idea that somebody is waiting on you to get your shit together. You know what I'm saying? Like somebody out there is waiting for you to create the thing that you have to create. Because that thing is what's going to help them get to the place that they need to get to. And so it's not just like your art is not for you. Your art is for the world, and it's for the people who are to connect with that. And so I think not only just reminding yourself of that for yourself, but also reminding yourself of that as you're being intentional about the choices and decisions that you're making, keeping in mind who you're creating that for. I think that's amazing advice. I love that. Melly?
So my first aha moment was, and I'm going to ask everyone here, can you think of your favorite cartoon character off the top of your head? You don't have to say it, but like your favorite cartoon character from growing up. Raise your hand if you can think of it, right? I can name like 3 or 4, right? And I have a Patreon, and I was able to do a live storytelling of one of the stories for my Patreon community. And I was like, let me just try trivia, and like whoever gets it right gets to come up and like meet me, like kind of like this, meet me virtually face to face. And I was like, these kids aren't going to get it right. Like they aren't really into the story. Like this is just like an earworm for like when they're driving to Walmart with their parents. So I asked a question. It was like, okay, and I was in season 2 at this point, who in season 1 did blah, 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 blah. And right away, all the kids was like, McKinley. I was like, oh, y'all be listening. Y'all know my kid. Let me try again. That was the easy one. So I gave them a harder one. Car, right away. Gave another one. Nathaniel. I was like, oh, y'all know these characters. Good job, Melissa. But also, like, y'all really listen to these stories. So that was the first, like, aha moment, was that kids from around the world were listening and know who the Stoop kids are. They can name all 7 of them. They can name the siblings of the Stoop. They know this world. They know these characters. So the first person who answered the question right got to come up on stage. And also, we all know that the podcast space is a very white space, right? So, and I know that my audience was very white. So I was assuming that the first person who was going to virtually meet me was going to be some little white girl, which is fine. But, you know, all my kids, like, they are blackity black from Baltimore. It is like the black version of Hey Arnold. This little black girl comes up on the screen, and when she sees me, she literally goes, Melly, Melly! And I could have cried. And that's when I knew. I was like, Melissa, you have something. You have something. You're making an impact on the world. You're making an impact on our future. You have to keep going. Like this, it started as just something for me to do in between audition season. And I was like, okay, I'll do this. And then when, you know, I book a gig, it'll be fine. But no, this is something, like I said, that I had to take care of my characters. I had to take care of the story. I had to take care of the community. I have to take care of their life because there are kids who are listening who are impacted by them. There are families being impacted by them. You know, I have white parents who have adopted Black kids who write in and say, thank you for the representation. You know, mixed race families, thank you for the representation. Black families, thank you for the representation of Black kids living in the inner city who don't get shot, don't deal with drugs, like they just regular ass kids. And instead of being in the suburbs with grass, they got concrete. You know? So those are my two aha moments, is when I realized that the kids who listened knew my characters, and when I got to see that little Black girl be excited to meet me for the first time.
I can only imagine. I feel like I had almost dropped a tear just now, girl. I got excited.
I had to hold it back. I'm like, I can't let these kids see me cry, but girl,
yes. But I think what you're talking about is character development. You know, like you're talking about the fact that you have developed your character so well that your audience was able to connect with them individually, right? So it's not just them connecting with the show, but they have connected with the individual characters because you really yes, absolutely. And that comes from the time and the intention. Again, I feel like that's going to be, we need to play a drinking game. That needs to be like the drinking game word. Yes, Bethany. Bethany is like, oh, y'all think it's a game. Y'all, I'm not playing over here. Like being really intentional about developing those characters and really putting, some thought into what are their backstories and what do they represent and what is their journey, not only as it relates to the other characters, but as it, relates to the people who are consuming it. How do they connect with that as well? I really love the conversation and a lot of the things that we're talking about, and some folks in the chat have kind of talked about it as well. We talked about the sound design, we talked about the editing, we talked about the audio engineering. Y'all talked a little bit about casting and stuff like that. I want to talk a little bit about the collaborative process when it comes to creating an audio drama, because the truth of the matter, I think, I'm a solo podcaster. I started off as a solo podcaster. And so, girl, I was the host, I was the producer, I was the editor, I was the sound designer. I mean, I did everything, girl. I did everything. And it's a lot of work. But when you're creating an audio drama, that's just not really an option, right? Unless you do voices and stuff, that's not really an option for you. You have to be able to collaborate with a team. And so I would love to hear you all's take on what makes for a healthy collaborative process, and how do you know when it's a good fit, right? Like, how do you know when this is the producer that I want to work with? This is the sound designer, because, not all sound designers are created equal. Someone might be a really good sound designer, but they can't give you the sound that you want. So how do you know when it's a good fit? I'll start with Faith.
I was going to jump in anyway, so thank you. You got to find somebody who is, nobody is going to be as hyped about your project as you are. But if you can find somebody who is nearly as hyped about your project as you are, that's it. That's the person who will do the project even if you can't pay them, which is what I have in my sound designer. Joshua Sui is like my boy. He is amazing all the time and is constantly like, I'll stay up at night and get it done for you. And on top of being brilliant at what he does, the fact that he has my back all the time and will make it sound as good as he can, that's the kind of person you want. You want those people around you who are just as hyped about your project, who are just as passionate about everything you're doing, who are waiting to see that next episode drop. You want those people. They need to be good at it too, because you cannot ignore that. Because if you find somebody who is hyped about it and they suck, sorry, you got to be like, go hype over here. Go hang out on social media. It's fine. That took me some years to learn, but I got it. But you got to find the people who are hyped and who are good. Yes.
Yeah,
Yes.
absolutely. Monice, did you want to add to that?
No, she's so right. You can have that hype person, but they booty and it just mess up your whole project. So that's so important. I mean, real talk. Yeah. But I think for me, finding somebody who's as hyped about your project, you know, that would be a wonderful thing if you could. Sometimes you can't, but if you can find somebody close, like Faith said, that's great. I think also for me, it begins with the story. If someone is like so invested and so drawn into the story, especially for my actors in particular with the collaboration, that is the thing that really gets me to hype the most, because my friends are like me, you know, these actors and producers, we've all been hustling and grinding forever. We just haven't been able to get put on. And so we put ourselves on, but I have to be able to vibe with you with the story. If you can know this story and your character inside and out, and you're asking me questions about, and you're bringing to like, I think maybe she should talk with a lisp, and I didn't think about that. I'm like, oh, that's dopeness. That means you're thinking past what I just put on the paper. That's as important too. And also, one thing I learned as an independent filmmaker is to work with people who need it as much as you do. It's great when somebody give you the hookup and they say, I'm gonna help you out. But that's a whole different type of energy than somebody who needs it as much as you do. They're gonna work as hard as you do. They're gonna grind as hard as you do. They're gonna promote it and market it as well. They're gonna go learn it. If they don't know it, they're gonna go find somebody to get it. That's what you need. You need to build your team up in your tribal with people who like, I need this to work as much as you do. So that's what I would say to folks. Find somebody who know what the hell they're doing, number one, who's passionate about it as you are, but who also needs it as much as you do.
Yeah, I agree with that 100%. Xperience, I see you nodding your head. You wanna add anything?
I mean, they basically hit the nail on the head. Definitely find someone who's as excited about it as you are. A lot of the things that I got into were for that exact reason. Like, I found an amazing sound designer, but he thought he knew everything. And no shade if he's watching, but he thought he knew everything. And so when I heard it back, I'm like, yeah, that's not it, you know? And it's like, what do you mean it's not it? It's like, yeah, that's not what I'm looking for. So I let him do that episode, but I said, okay, I know what I want. And so I had to take over the production as far as that's concerned, because I knew what I was listening for. And if you don't get it, you just don't get it. And moving forward, because again, I already said at the beginning of this, that's something I'll never do again, try to be a one-man band. It's doable, but you're going to be stressed out. I went through creative burnout, and I'm still trying to get over that now. So I definitely don't recommend you trying to do it all yourself, even if you have every last talent in the world. Just don't. I was blessed this season. I'm working on season 2 of Past Due, and I hired 2 writers, you know what I mean? And that was big for me, because I can just sit back, drink pina coladas, and and enjoy that, like the fruits of my labor, being able to, and know that those 2 ladies, they know my story better than I know it at this point. You know what I mean? And so just like you were talking about earlier, they were like, well, how about we try this and do that? And like, I'm really excited for season 2. I didn't want to do a season 2. I was done with it. You know what I mean? But you know, the audience and the fans are like, no, we need to know what happened. So I'm like, okay. So I got them on board, and it's just been a beautiful process. Just even getting on the phone and getting on Zoom with them, and just hearing what they've woven into this beautiful season 2. Like, I'm really, really excited about it. So collaboration is absolutely a necessary thing, and so important to get people who match your fly, honestly. Yeah.
Yes, match my fly.
Can I add something real quick?
Money. Yes, yes. I love that.
I just want to add something real quick.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Is that
go
okay?
ahead.
And
go ahead,
if you make it, take those people with you. Take them with you. I mean, they were there with you when you were at the bottom, just making the thing. You can't leave them behind. Don't do that.
Working for free, working late night, all that. Yes, you must take them with you. Everybody's coming.
Yes, I agree with that wholeheartedly. And I love the point that you all made about finding someone who are Monice specifically made this point. finding somebody who needs it as much as you do, you know, like let's help each other. Help me help you. You know, if we all put together and create something that's awesome, then it looks good on all of us, you know, and we all can have opportunities that come from that. Because the reality is that we're gonna get into a few more of the specifics in a little bit, but not everybody has the budget. You know, most of us don't have the budget when we first getting started. But that doesn't mean that we can't still put together a quality production. And I think that is extremely important, Monice, like having someone who needs this as a part of their portfolio just as much as you need this as a part of your portfolio, because now I'm going to put in more effort. I'm going to make sure that it's really up to par and that I give it my best. I think that's extremely important. Melly, in the same vein of talking about collaboration, I wanted to talk a little bit specifically about casting, because in my opinion, I think the cast can make or break your show, right? It can make or break your story. I was watching, now this is not a podcast, but I was watching that Jamie Foxx show that he has on Netflix. It's horrible. You know, it's horrible. I think that they whoever was supposed to be doing the casting, they, you know, the chemistry is just really not there, you know. So I want to talk a little bit specifically about the casting process and how you get to the point of like, this is the person that's supposed to play this character. Like this is, you know, Jimmy Jam, or this is whomever it is, and really knowing that that's the right casting choice. What is that process like for you?
It's so interesting that you threw that question at me, is because I'm a solo podcaster. However, I do have an answer to this question. So like Stupid Kid Stories is all narration. So it's a lot like opposite of what everyone else has said. Like I do say, you know, car stumbled into the room and then the classroom exploded and he flew out the window. You know, it's very much like that. However, Stupid Kid Stories is now being developed into a musical, and that's going to happen this summer. So I just got finished casting it. Like we sent the contracts out today to my actors. And so me being an actor, thank you, me being an actor, you know, I'm on this side of the table. I'm the one going into the room. Hello, my name is Melissa Victor. I'll be singing blah, 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 blah. And then I leave. So the fact that I have this podcast, that's a thing. Had these characters, had to write the script and write these songs and choreograph this dance, and then send it out to the world for actors who are hungry for a job after the pandemic, and have them send me videos of my work. And in my head, I know what Nathaniel looks like. I know what Peach looks like. I know what McKinley looks like. And it was very interesting to see these videos come in. I'm like, that's my Peach. Oh, yes, that is my Nathaniel. Yes, that's my twins. So there was this one kid named Brett, who hopefully will accept my offer to be Nathaniel. And he has to sing one of the songs. And I know I needed a high gospel tenor. And if you weren't a high gospel tenor like Keelante Gavin or, you know, all of them, you weren't going to do it. And when he sang and opened his mouth, I was like, that's it. So when it comes to casting, you have in your head of who you want. And this may be bad advice, but try to find the person that matched the person in your head, because if they don't match the person in your head, the story's not going to edify the way that you want it to. You know, have it to be really specific. Does this person have locks? Does this person have colored hair? Like what's the size of this person? Also be open to, you know, whoever comes in, because someone may bring a different perspective. But when you're first going into it, you know what your cast looks like. You know what your cast sounds like. You know the energy that they're going to give into the mic. And really pay attention to that. And it's okay if someone comes in and like, they seem perfect, but they don't have that spunk, that oomph, that twang, that whatever it is. It's okay to say no and be like, I'm going to just keep looking, because that person that you want is out there, you know? So don't shy away from the specificity that's inside of you as the writer, as the artist, as the producer. But yeah, as for the podcast aspect, I do all the voices. So
yeah, absolutely. You know, and it just really comes back again, drinking game, Bethany, take a sip, sis. The intentionality, right? Like being intentional. I think it what you're describing again is that character development, right? Like I know what this character looks like. I know what this character sounds like. I know who this character is. So when I get into the casting, I know what to look for because I have really been intentional about developing that character and their backstory. Xperience you wanted to add?
Yeah, I just wanted to add the authenticity of the characters also, because sometimes you have a person, they could be great, but they sound horrible. You know what I'm saying? And it's just about, they might not be experienced in voiceover, which people take for granted. It's not as easy because even me getting into voiceover, I was like, oh, I could do this. I got this. And then when I had to do 72 takes, I'm like, okay, wait. Maybe this is not as easy as I thought it was going to be.
You got this spit bubble and these big old hippopotamus breaths, and it's like, it sounds bad.
Exactly. I didn't realize, like, it took me to be the star of my own show to realize how fast I talk, how I have a little bit of a lisp sometimes. I'm like, oh my gosh, I didn't realize how many times I have to say this word over, because when I played it back, it didn't sound like the word that came out of my mouth. And I'm like, that's a problem. But just, getting people who are comfortable. I've heard so many, and I try to be, objective when I'm listening to other, audio dramas because I love it. I've heard some great storylines, but the actors it's cringeworthy. And it's like, oh, like, hi, how are you? I am. And it's just like robotic. And it's like, oh, so yes, the voice actors are so important. Make sure they feel comfortable. Make sure they are authentic. I don't care if they're free, if they are bad, it's not good. Just try something else.
There's a craft to what we do. There are crafts to being the creator side of it, and there's a craft for the talent side of it. Mm-hmm. That goes from mic technique, that goes from speaking technique, how you speak into the mic, how where does your story take place? Does your story take place in the South? Does it take place in the Midwest? Does it take place in Baltimore where we don't say our T's and we say Doug instead of dog? You know what I'm saying?
Or the DMV where you use a V instead of a T.
Listen, so
get it right.
You want to hire craftsmen who can understand the craftsmanship, because this is such a sensitive medium, because it is just audio. So I just wanted to add that.
Yeah, I agree. I agree 100%. It took me a while to get into audio dramas, and I tried a few different audio dramas, and I was just like, you know what? This is not what I want to do. I don't really want to listen to this one. And for that exact reason, I just felt like the actors were not selling it. They were not making me believe that they were actually in this story, and that that this story was like the visualization was not coming through, and so I think that matters. Everybody think they could do it until it's time to do it, to your point, Xperience. So yeah, I love that. Faith and Monice, did either one of you want to add to that particular question around the casting?
I have a little bit. I was really, really interested in getting people who could not only sound good on mic, but also, fully act. Like Xperience said, like, you don't want somebody reading. Like, don't read a line to me. And it's like, I need you to be able to emote. And even though you don't have to be off book, I still need I need to believe that you're not reading it to me. And that's extremely important. And even though I went in with thoughts of how I wanted people to be, when you start to hear somebody, you're like, oh no, that's the person. That's the person. And also they need to be able to work together. I mean, when I was doing a romantic comedy, I can't have just two really good actors. I have to have two really good actors who also sound good together and can have some sort of chemistry. Because if it's like good actor here, and they just like, nobody believes that they're falling in love, then what's the point? Like, you've just lost your entire romantic comedy if there isn't also chemistry. So good people, also good chemistry.
Yeah, I would agree with what everyone has said. Authenticity, good actors. For me, I asked my friends, and they were all amazing actors. So I knew they were all amazing actors, and most of them were theatrically trained. That helped a lot too. Because in theater, you have to use your imagination. You're just on a blank stage. You might have like a table over here or something like that, but you have to use your imagination. So it's really important, I think, and what we do as audio drama creators, that we work with people who have great imaginations as well. I remember there was one point with my my main actress. She's the narrator and then she's the lead. She plays Mary from age 9 to age 32. So she has to run the gamut. And we had a conversation just about one word, gone. Just gone. And I explained to her what that meant. What was the intention behind that word? You know, like this is a really big deal. You know, it was a very pivotal scene where her mother was telling her to leave, but she didn't want her to leave. So when you were saying one thing, but you mean the other, it's going to sound differently. So you need somebody who can understand the intention behind everything they're saying, especially because we have nowhere to hide. You know, you can get some really great actors for the stage or for film, but they're used to being seen. And if they're just depending on that and not using their voices as an instrument, then that's not going to do you any good either. So you just have to find the right people. You will know in your gut if they're the right person. They might not be the most famous. They may be unknown, but it doesn't matter. You have to depend on what your audience is going to be hearing and not worry about all that other stuff. So I would suggest that. Just find somebody who's a great imagination, just like you do, so they can visualize it and then they can make that known through their voice.
Inflection was the word I came
on. Inflection.
Yes, that's the word. I was like, what is that word? Yes.
Yeah, I think that's really sound advice. And, you know, Monice, to your point, I think what a part of what I hear you saying also, and really what all of you are saying, is find someone not only that you can connect to the character, but that they also connect to the character. You know, like there has to be some level of cultural competency when it comes to having your cast, you know, because they're delivering. So if I can't play a gay man because I'm not a gay man, and I have gay male friends, but I can't really connect to that culture in a way that allows me to be able to portray all of the nuance that exists in being a gay man. And so having someone, I think, who themselves can connect to the character is like the underlying kind of tone that I hear from all of you. And I think that's a very valuable lesson. Y'all should write that down if y'all ain't wrote that down.
Yeah, that's so true, because it is acting, but because you have nowhere to hide, I can't distract you with a car chase. I can't distract you with other things. It's just the voice. And the voice is probably the truest thing that we have as human beings. People can lie to you with their face all the time, but then they'll say something else and you're like, nah, son, where'd you really just come from? You know, so the voice is such a true instrument that you need someone who is intentional with that and wants to work with you to really be intentional and to get that out into the audience. And also what Faith is saying, like, and that chemistry is important too, because you can really tell when people don't like each other when it's just their voices. Again, we have nowhere to hide. You know, I can't fake a kiss scene or whatever. If they're talking to each other and they don't like each other, or if they're siblings and they don't like each other, or if there's no chemistry, it is so clear. So you can't just go based on who the best actor are. You have to go based on, well, will they play well with others? Will it read on mic? All that matters.
Yeah, I definitely agree as a connoisseur. I agree. Talib said something in the chat that it just has been running in my head, and I was like, should I say that or should I not? But he didn't put it into the chat, so I'm gonna go in and pull it out and kind of get you all's input on that. He's talking about, especially for first time audio drama creatives, don't be afraid to direct. And that's the word that kept coming up. Melia's like, duh. But I think that it's one of those things that it does need to be said, especially if you're a first time audio drama creative, because I think sometimes we say, okay, well, I hired this person to do this job and they should just know how to do it. You know, like they should read the script and they should know how to give me what it is that I want. And I think a lot of people operate in that mindset, not even just in the audio drama space, but even like, let's say you have a regular podcast or like a interview podcast, and you have a guest on your show, but you don't give that guest any kind of prep or anything, right? And that guest gonna get on there talking all kind of crazy, and you're gonna have to reel them in, or you're gonna have to cut it in the editing and things like that, right? So, you know, talk a little bit about, and Melly done already came off of mute. She's like, put me in, coach. I'm ready for this one. Talk to us a little bit, Melly, about, you know, finding your legs as a director and how to actually pull what you're looking for out of your actors and whoever else you might be collaborating with.
I think the first thing is important is to trust your gut and trust your story and trust your voice. I had to struggle with, I didn't struggle with that, but like, struggle is not the right word. It was for the musical, I would say. They were trying to find me a director, and we couldn't find, like, it wasn't working. And I sat down one day and I talked to God and I said, Melissa, you made this podcast, you wrote this musical, you're from Baltimore, you know these kids, how about you direct it? Mind you, I'm an actor. I've never directed anything in my life. Like, I directed summer camp stuff and like high school productions, but I've never directed on a professional level. And I said, okay, why, who else but to direct Stoop Kid Stories live, but the creator of Stoop Kid Stories? And I went to the theater and I said, how y'all feel about me directing? They said that would be genius, because the words came from here. The characters came from here. The idea came from here. Like Xperience Jay, it's my shit. You know what I'm saying? I had to direct an Imagine Neighborhood series yesterday of a script that I wrote. And I had 2 actors and I had to direct them. And I wrote the script. I wrote it. So I know how I wanted it to sound. I know how I wanted, you know, the dinosaur to yell when it was at the top of the mountain. And I know how I wanted the robot vacuum to zip up to the top of the mountain. I saw it in my head. So I just had to find the words to get that out. And I had to trust that I could find the words to get that out. Because I think sometimes we know in our head what it is, but we don't know how to convey it. And then that's when it's okay to get help, right? Here's my idea. How do I say this? But that doesn't mean you give up your directorship to somebody else. You just ask for assistance, but you still do it yourself because it came from you. So if I could leave anybody with anything, is trust your voice, trust your art, trust your work, trust your words, because it's yours. And then when you're into like the second and third iteration, like I'm not gonna direct Stoop Kid Stories live when it goes to Broadway or anything like that, because I'm gonna be in it, hello? But this first iteration, then when it's, you know, the first iteration to the world, why not? And then when I'm okay with giving my baby to someone else, you know, I'll give it all. But this first one, no, mama's going to direct it and it's going to be fire. So trust.
Because at that point, by the time it gets to, you know, the second and third iteration, your vision is clear. And so the person that's coming in is not trying to develop the vision for the theatrical component of this universe that you're creating. You've already established what that looks like. Now they just really need to follow that blueprint that you've set up. And so it makes it maybe a little bit easier to say, okay, now y'all can do this. I don't necessarily need to be involved in the day-to-day kind of decisions of that. Did any of you wanted to add anything about the directing component experience?
Just to Talib's point, I think sometimes as first-time creators, I often forget because I've been doing so many other things that I'm still a first-time creative technically in this audio drama world. And as a first-time creative in that realm, sometimes you feel a little afraid to tell people things or say, you know, hey, I need you to do it like this, especially when they're working for free. We talked about that. You kind of, it's a little more hesitant on your end to say, you know, that wasn't really the take, you know what I mean? And I had to learn the hard way because I'm super anal and I need everything to sound good. You know, even listening back is like, I should have told that person to do this or do that. So when I moved into KISS, I knew exactly what I wanted to hear. So there was I wasn't accepting people recording on their cell phones with the whole, you know, block party in the background, because I can't have that happen. Like, thank you for doing it for free. However, I can't have you, your mom and them all on the mic. You know what I'm saying? And just different stuff. You know, I like you said this part right, but I don't like that. Can you do that part over? Like being okay, because like I said, it's your shit and ultimately it comes back on you. So, you know, it's your project and it's okay to tell people I don't like that. You know what I mean? And to get it until it's right and just be adamant about it because it's what you're presenting to the world. And just moving forward, I have a whole different mindset of how I want to do things. And again, like I said, I've been blessed to add people to the team. I was afraid to do that, you know, before, because it was like, oh, this is my baby. I can't let nobody write my stuff. But now it's like, oh, please take, I'm on kid number 2, take them. Where you taking them? How long y'all gonna be? go ahead. You know, so that's where I'm at with it now. And it's just a beautiful feeling, like collaborating once people get it. You know what I'm saying? So don't be afraid to direct. Don't be afraid to tell people no. Don't be afraid to tell people I'm gonna need that one again. We gonna be here till we get it right. How long y'all got? So just don't be afraid.
Yeah, in the infamous words of Ike Turner, sing the song like I told you. You know what I'm saying? Sing the song. Sing the song like I told you. You know what I'm saying? We ain't done till I say we done. That's just what it is. Faith.
On the note of trusting, I also think trusting your actors a little bit, because I always I write full backstories for every one of my characters. Like there's a whole like novel involved, and I give those to the actors when I've cast you. I'm like, here's your entire backstory from the time you were born. You know, all of your entire family is right here, so that when I put them in a scene, I'm like, do you remember what I said about how that thing that happened to you when you were 5? I need you to bring that up. I need you to remember that. And so it's my way of giving them motivation within a scene. But then you have actors who are like, well, can I play with it a little bit? And if you tell them no right up front, then they're not going to give you anything when you tell them that you need it. So it's like, give them some space, because you did hire them to act for you. So give them the space to actually act. So it's like, you give them like, hey, how about this take? You do what you need to do. And if you like it, you like it. And if you don't, then like Xperience said, another take, let's do it again. Let's get it this way. But if you have to, like, that's where the collaboration comes in again, is make sure that they trust you and you trust them to do what they need to do as actors.
Yeah.
I agree with everything everyone said. I mean, I've struggled as a director because I was so shy and didn't want to speak up and everything like that. And for film, it was a nightmare because there's so much going on. As a film director, you're really an administrator of the set, right? There's so much happening. You're losing light, people are grumpy, all this type of stuff. And I would get so distracted by all of those things. I really just wanted to focus on the actors. So audio dramas really saved me, because I was able to just focus on my actors and talk to them and direct them like I would as I would in theater. So for me, the best part of directing is having a conversation with them and really giving them the background. I love your cheat sheet, Faith, of giving them the backstories already. That's a beautiful thing. So you have a conversation about that, because if you hired them, you trust them to bring what they can bring. You want to collaborate. You don't want to be a complete dictator all the time, but you want to hear what they have to say. And if you've been intentional in casting them, intentional in finding people who want to collaborate with you and are imaginative, then you can trust them to give you some different ideas and take in a different direction that you never would have thought of before. So I think it really it goes all the way back to pre-production for you to be a good director. If you casted the right people and you put the right people on your team, then when you get to the point of producing and you're in the audio booth trying to get this together, it should hopefully, prayerfully, unless they're like crazy and you didn't know they were, it should hopefully, prayerfully come together where you can have these conversations with them and you can feel comfortable in explaining everything of what you want, or even ask them to go a little further because they gave you something you weren't expecting. So for me, like I said, I love that part of collaborating with my actors and getting them to even let me see stuff I wasn't seeing before, and being confident, like Melly said, it's your voice, it's your words, you know these characters. You just have to articulate that to the person, and hopefully if you did your job right, they can deliver that and something more than what you weren't expecting.
Yeah, that's beautiful. That's beautiful. You know, Armand in the comments, he says, you know, he really needed this. He said that he's scared to share any of his stuff because in his mind, he's kind of like, no, this is my baby, and you know, I gotta write it, and he doesn't have a whole lot of money, so he's always nervous about it. And so I love that you know, the advice that you all are given overwhelmingly. Bethany, where you glass at, girl? Is to be intentional about what it is. Yes, sip, sip, bottoms up, sis. But really, like as long as you are being intentional at every step of the way, being intentional about crafting your characters, being intentional about communicating those characters, being intentional about who you choose to collaborate with, being intentional about what the sound design looks like, and being intentional about trusting your gut and knowing that you have created this story and it's good because you created it. It may not be for everybody, but for those who it is for, they're going to love it. And at the end of the day, that's what really matters. I want to remind you all once again to type those comments into the chat. If you have any questions, type those into the chat as well. This is a really, really great conversation. We have about 10 more minutes left in terms of our overall discussion. And so I want to kind of pivot a little bit to talk about the stuff that I know a lot of us are thinking about out here. Those of us, anytime we are trying to start a new venture or, you know, especially in the podcasting space, we always get questions about the technical side of things, you know, so the tech, what kind of tech to use, how do you set up that tech, but also the budgeting, like what does that look like, time management, what is a reasonable expectation for that. So I would like for each of you to kind of give you know, your tips and pointers on any one of those subject areas in that category. So anything around the structure of production. So that can be scheduling, that can be time management, distribution and batching, budgeting, whatever it is that you feel most confident to share about. I would love for each of you to do that. We'll do Xperience, Monice, Faith, and then Melly.
I am so unconventional when it comes to this. So I don't even know if y'all want to hear my my stuff, but definitely crowdfunding, I think, would be one of the easiest ways to make money. If you know of any grants or things like that, you can look into those type of things. I fund a lot of my projects out of pocket just for the need to get it done right now, you know. So that's why I say I'm a little unconventional when it comes to that, because I'd rather just, okay, well, let me pay for it so I can get it done, because with a lot of this stuff, it's going to take time, which is why pre-production is super important. So if you want to put like an audio drama out, let's say next year, start now, you know what I mean? So not just writing, but figuring out where the money's going to come from. If you know you don't want to fund it out of pocket, crowdfund. If you know people who are into giving, you know, season's greetings, all that good stuff, make sure that you reach out to those people. Bartering has been a big tool for me because I'm dope. You dope, let's be dope together. What you need, you know, I got what you need, you got what I need, let's do it together. So that has been a really, really helpful tool for me, just because like I work a 9 to 5, I ain't got it all. And even with crowdfunding, it just takes a long time to get it up and running, especially if you've never done it. So, you know, if you need some now type of situation, yeah, just barter, but make sure that the barter is equal, I will say. So yeah.
Well, since Xperience started with pre-production, I'll just go all the way to the end of it, post-production and marketing. I'll go there, and then Faith and Millie can fill in the middle. So as far as like, let's say you get it all done, you gotten everything taken care of, now your baby's ready to put out into the world. What should you do? I think that the one thing that we always do, because we get all stressed out about getting it actually done, that then we just put it on Apple Podcasts and think somebody's going to find it, and that's not what's going to happen. You have to come up with a social media campaign. You have to come up with a marketing plan before you even finish it. You should have a web presence before you even finish it. You should be tweeting about it, Facebooking about it, Instagramming about it, have an Instagram page, all this type of stuff, Pinterest, whatever. just create a what do you call it? A digital footprint about your project before it comes out, because now people are going to be anticipating that it's coming out. You know, if you're doing like behind the scenes, little clips of Instagram video behind the scenes and stuff like that, or, you know, I even like created a character page on Facebook for my character, my main character. So she was just talking to people randomly for no reason, and they didn't even know what this was attached to. And then they realized like, oh, you have a project coming out, but now they've gotten to know my main character. You know, think of different ways that you can be creative to market your project before it comes out. So that way, when it does come out and you finally say, hey, it's out, then people are waiting and they're going straight to it, because it takes a long time for people to find you. Podcasts are made every 10 minutes, every 10 seconds, and you'll put it out there and get your heart broken because no one's saying anything. No one knows anything about it. But at least if you start ahead of time, now you're building up an audience and traction for it. So that would be my suggestion. When you're doing pre-production, already be thinking about the marketing of your project as well.
Oh Lord, I don't know what to say now. Money is hard. Money is so damn hard. Says the person in the middle of a crowdfunding who has 3 days left in her crowdfunding. It's hard. But the interesting thing is that bartering thing really, 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 really works. I am a professional video editor. I work at a company that hires voiceover actors. Don't think that I didn't bring my people on who I could not pay before when my boss is like, oh, we need a voiceover person for this. I'm like, here's a whole sheet. So if I can get them a paying job because I couldn't pay them the first time, that's me like trying to pay it forward, trying to get them something. So if you can do that, if you can find people who are really into it and then say, hey, this is the thing I can do for you. Can you do this thing for me? And there they are, because seriously, you think that this is how much it's going to cost, but if you really sat down and thought about it, I'm going to talk real numbers. Okay. I'm sure somebody wants to know some real numbers. I sat down and figured out the minimum budget to do season 1 of Apollyon. I have 7 regular cast members, but walk-on roles, like minor characters, we're probably talking 17 to 20 people who are going to be over the course of 10 episodes, 30-minute episodes. I have a sound designer, full-time sound designer. I have someone who wrote the theme, who is also my music supervisor. I have a casting director. We had like 250 people audition, and I had to go through all of that. So I got to pay myself, because pay yourself. So you got to pay yourself. You got to pay your sound designer. You got to pay your music supervisor. You got to pay your casting director. You got to pay your producer, and you got to pay all these actors. We're looking at minimum, it was $5,000 an episode. So for a 10 episode season, I'm talking $50,000. No. Do you have $50,000? Because I don't have $50,000. If I had $50,000, I would have been making this shit already. So it's just like, you find out what's the minimum you can get by on making that thing, and you make the thing. And if you can tell people, hey, right now I can't pay you, so you put out the thing and you build the audience and you get a following, and then you do the crowdfunding for season 2. And you got all these people who are in love with your show because you used Monice's advice and you made all that social media happen, and people are following your show and they're doing the thing and they're telling all their friends, and all their friends are listening, and they're like, when the hell is season 2 coming out? And you're like, hey, I'll make season 2 if we can raise this much. And then they're like, shit, yeah, let's put some money in, because it's like $5. If I get $5 and my friend gets $5 and then my friend over there gets $5, then you got it going, and things happen. Because I did a crowdfunding campaign for my first show and we made this much. I did it for this one, which only has 1 episode out. And I told people I wasn't going to make any more unless we hit the thing. And I think I've got people scared. They're like, shit. You're not going to make any more episodes. We have to raise the money. So it's happening. It can happen. It's just, you got to get there. You got to figure out, can I make it without money? And if I do need money to make it, how do I make that money? That's what you got to do.
Faith, since you gave a little breakdown, Jade is in the comments and she's asking for those who hire writers, how much do you pay them? So can you just give her a ballpark on if she's not writing her script, maybe it's her concept, but she's looking for maybe a ghostwriter or a script writer. What can she budget for that?
When people pay me to write things, it's at minimum, and I'm talking short. We're talking like 5 pages. I charge about $125 for 5 pages. So you can work from that and be like, I can't pay you that much, but I could pay you over time, or I could pay you on deferred pay. Like, oh, we can say it's going to be this amount, and when the show raises money, crowdfunding or whatever, then I can send you money, or we start a Patreon and I can pay you in monthly installments, which I have done as well. So if you start getting Patreon people, you can be like, I can buy you a nice meal every month. Here's $10. And then you throw $10 to your writer. You're like, I just bought you lunch. Yay.
Yes,
So
yes.
just figure out ways to do it. But honestly, sometimes if you even just offer to pay someone, they will respect you more. Because if you go over there and be like, oh, you're a writer, could you write this thing for me? Don't do that. Don't ever do that. Like if you respect somebody in the work that they do, offer something. You gotta offer something.
Yeah. And Xperience, I saw you have your hand up, so we'll go to you, and also just answer about how many pages, if you're looking at a 20 to 30 minute episode, about how many pages would they be looking at for a script?
So I was just going to go back to the whole bartering thing. My writers actually are working on their own project. So we actually have in our contract that I'll do voiceover for them or sound design. So that's how we exchange that, because all 3 of those things are very, very important. The most important things when it comes to your audio dramas. And so like, you help me, I help you, you know what I mean? So that's how we're doing it. What was the other question? I forgot already.
Just about how many pages would a 20 to 30 minute episode be? So if they're paying a writer by a certain number of pages, about how many pages would they need to get a full episode?
It just, for me, it would depend on how long you want the episode to be. Usually they say 1 page is 1 minute, just about, but it just depends on, because you have to factor in sound design and all of those other things too. So it just depends. But you can, if you have like a 10-minute episode, you know, give or take 8 to 10 pages for that episode, depending on the length of the dialogue and all of that other stuff. So it just depends.
Okay,
Somebody else might
awesome.
want to, yeah.
All right. And Melly, before we wrap it up here, this has been an amazing conversation. I want for you to go ahead and, give us the last tidbit around like the structure and things like that. We have questions in the chat. If you want to answer one of those, you can do that. Or if you already had something in your mind that you wanted to talk about, Bethany is asking about the writing process. She said that she's heard that writing the end first and then working backwards works for a lot of people. You know, do you have a specific writing process?
So because my characters is all kids' characters, they're based on either experiences that I had as a kid, that my sister had as a kid, that I've seen like my students have. I just write off of that, or I'll with COVID and things, like, kids were dealing with school anxiety. Like, how can I write a story that ties into social emotional learning around like the pandemic, and like, how do kids be kind to themselves? How are kids kind to their parents? So I just take real life situations and put them into the story. I produce episodes every other Monday. So I'm not producing some kids podcasts, they do it every week, and more power to them, but I need a break from it because I do a million other things. So, I may write on a Thursday and record and edit on a Friday, and then schedule it to go out on that Monday. Just to give myself, and I have a whole week break of no podcasting stuff. I can just focus on Instagram and connecting with my fan base and things like that. So look at your schedule of when you want your episodes to come out, and then that will really help your writing process. Do I need to outline on Monday and then script on Wednesday and then record on Friday? Or do I need to do it all on the weekend? It's really going to come down to how you're going to schedule your episodes. But yeah, I just pull from real life experiences and say it in the kids' perspective.
Awesome. Well, ladies, I want to say once again, thank you to each and every one of you for participating. I personally have thoroughly enjoyed this conversation from start to finish. I think that I learned a lot. I hope that everyone in the audience has learned a lot. We want to go really quickly and let everybody know how they can get in touch with you if they want to work with you individually, or if they want to check out what you have going on, or Faith, if they want to contribute to what you have going on. Hallelujah. Yes. Go ahead and let everybody know how they can do that. And again, we'll do the same order: Xperience, Monice, Faith, and Melly.
Okay, I'm gonna put all million of my links in the chat because there's so many. But you can find me on Instagram at Xperience Jay, and the spelling should be in this thing here. And on Twitter it's Xperience Jay, just without the JAY. It's just the letter J. But I'm gonna put everything in the chat so we can keep it moving. But I have so many. I also put the link to Black Audio Dramas Exist, which is a comprehensive, just a mesh of Black audio dramas. You can go, you can see all of the beautiful, amazingly talented audio drama creatives and their projects there. And that's how I was able to locate all of these beautiful ladies here. So please go check that out. Support a Black podcast today. Yes.
I'm Monice Mitchell Simms everywhere, on Facebook, on Twitter, on Instagram. And you can go to my website, Monice, M-O-N-I-C-E, Mitchell, M-I-T-C-H-E-L-L, Simms, S-I-M-M-S.com. And that's just my website and blog where I just put everything when you can find me wherever I am. So I'm easy to contact there as well.
I am at Observer Pix, which is Observer P-I-X, on Instagram, Twitter, and Facebook. And the website is observerpictures.com. If you're specifically looking for audio fiction, I stuck it in there. It's observerpictures.com/audio fiction. Also, because I'm crazy, Apollyon has its own social media account. So it's Apollyon Pod. I'll stick that in here too. But yeah, if you are feeling so inclined, there are 3 days left in my crowdfunding. Please go donate. I want to make it. We're trying to get to $10,000, and we had a Rockefeller drop $1,000 today. I cried this morning. It was amazing. So we are closer than I thought we would be. So yes, help us get there.
That's amazing. So for all the podcastings, you can just follow Stoop Kid Stories on Instagram, Twitter, and Facebook. And you'll see all the updates about the podcast and updates about the show, because we start rehearsals June 26th and we open July 17th. So, I mean, the show is in Connecticut, in New Canaan, Connecticut, but I will be doing a live stream of the show. So grab your nieces and your nephews and your daughters and your sons and your grandkids and sit around and watch a show of Black kids. But if you just want to hang out with me, just, you can follow me at Melly_music on Instagram and see all the actor, creator things that I do.
All right. And we are definitely going to send a follow-up email tomorrow for everyone. And it's going to have the link to this replay. So if you missed anything, you didn't get a chance to take your notes because you was too busy sipping on your drink or whatever, you'll have an opportunity to catch the replay. And we'll have all of the links for these ladies so that you can be able to reach them and connect with them however and whenever you need to. Also, the Afros in Audio, the third annual Afros in Audio Virtual Podcast Festival is happening November 13th and 14th via the Hoover Virtual Conference platform. The pre-sale tickets are on now. So head over to afrosinaudio.com. If you have ever been to the Afros in Audio Podcast Festival, then you already know it goes down. And so you want to make sure you have yourself in the building. You're going to get a ticket, so you may as well get that discount while the discount is available, because you're going, okay? So y'all make sure that you head over to afrosinaudio.com to check that out. And also join us in the Afros and Audio Podcast Community Network, which is powered by the Mighty Networks app. It's a great community for Black podcasters and audio professionals where we are really committed to collaboration and connecting with each other in a really deep and meaningful way. There's opportunities if you're looking for voice actors, we have voice actors. If you're looking for editors and sound engineers or producers, whatever it is, we have it, and we Black as hell. You know what I'm saying? So come on through and join our community and help us to grow from within. If there's a topic that you have expertise in and you would like to partner with us to bring that expertise to the world, jump on in the DMs or shoot us an email, info@afrosanaudio.com, or you can email me, latrice@afrosanaudio.com, and we are more than willing to hear what you have to say and help you bring that thing to life. So once again, I want to say thank you to all of our panelists. You all did an amazing, amazing job. I was already ready for this thing. You know what I'm saying? I was already ready for this thing. So we feel excited about that. As you all know, like I said, we always do a group ussy. So I'm removing all of the pins. We're gonna ask everybody to go ahead and turn them cameras on. We're going to do us a ussy. We like to do 2 ussies. All right. So turn them cameras on, Heather, Celia, Bethany already on the screen. AJ, let's go, AJ. Jade, Karim, let's go. Let's get it. Sherilyn, let's get it. Stephanie, let's turn them cameras on, because this is an Afros and Audio tradition. You know, Black folk got to take a picture to commemorate the moment. So that's what we're going to do. We're going to take 2 ussies. All right. The first ussy is going to be, like our regular ussy. It's going to be, good, respectable church folk, you know what I'm saying? Act like your mama, like you got some home training kind of ussy. And then our second ussy is going to be our good time pose, which is my favorite one, to be honest. And y'all don't act like you don't know what the good time pose is. Y'all know what the good time pose is. All right. So we're going to take our first ussy on the count of 3. 1, 2, 3. All right, we got that one. Now we're going to do a second ussy, and this is our Black as hell, good times, stretching and surviving, hanging and a jiving. Hallelujah. Yes. All right, so let's get our good times ussy going. Y'all ready? 1, 2, 3. All right. I love it. I love it. I love it. Once again, my name is Latrice Sampson Richards. And on behalf of Afros and Audio, we just want to thank you all for your support and for allowing us to be a part of your podcasting journey. If you have any questions or anything like that, feel free to reach out to us. We are truly a community. We are truly a family. And if this is your first time interacting with us, welcome. Welcome to the family. We hope to see you again. All right. That's all we have for y'all tonight. We love y'all and we appreciate y'all. And until next time, be well. Bye, y'all.